Let's just jump straight into this, because what we're looking at today is completely fascinating. We're exploring some of the most profound spiritual sites on the planet. But, I actually want to start this explainer by setting the scene with a story that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi movie. Imagine cracking open a dusty, weather-beaten diary from the year 1926. It belonged to the famous British mountaineer Eric Shipton. Now, this was a guy known for trekking through the absolute most inaccessible, unmapped regions of the Himalayas. But in this particular diary, he isn't just talking about ice and rocks. No, he's writing about a mystery that seems to defy the very laws of physics. Okay, so let's dive into this. Shipton basically documented an encounter with a local priest who was doing something that should be flat out impossible. This one single priest was reportedly performing the daily rituals, the puja, at both Badrinath and Kedarnath on the exact same day. Now, to put that into perspective for a second, the distance between those two shrines is about 40 kilometers, but we're not talking about a flat, paved highway here. We are talking about 40 kilometers of absolutely brutal, uncrossable Himalayan terrain. We're talking deadly drops, freezing temperatures, almost vertical climbs. Even a highly trained modern mountaineer with all the latest gear would take days to cross that. Yet this priest was supposedly just teleporting across the mountains daily. Was he somehow operating completely outside the boundaries of space and time? It's exactly these kinds of mind-bending questions that surround the incredible locations we're exploring today. But to really understand these mysteries, we kind of have to zoom out and look at the broader map. A lot of people think the Char Dham, the 4 sacred abodes, is just that smaller Himalayan circuit up in the mountains. But the true Grand Char Dham of India, which was established way back in the 8th century by the great philosopher Adi Shankaracharya, actually spans the 4 furthest corners of the country. You've got Rameshwaram in the south, Badrinath in the north, Jagannath Puri in the east, and Dwarka in the west. And if you look at the ancient texts, they reveal that these aren't just ordinary stone temples. They're described as these awakened, highly vibrating centers of a literal cosmic routine. And the way this builds into a geographical framework is just wild. According to the mythology, Lord Vishnu, the preserver of the universe, actually descends to Earth every single day to complete his routine across these exact 4 locations. It's like the ultimate cosmic commute. He starts his day down south in the waters of Rameshwaram for his morning bath. Then, cleansed and refreshed, he heads all the way up to the freezing northern heights of Badrinath to meditate. After that deep contemplation, he travels east to Jagannath Puri to dine. And finally, after a very long day of, sustaining the entire universe, he goes west to the golden city of Dwarka to sleep and rest. This underlying structural spine connects this entire physical journey into one single, breathtaking daily cycle. So let's start where the day starts. Stop number 1, Rameshwaram, a place of deep devotion and some real miracles. We're going to follow that exact cosmic routine, kicking things off down south. If you dive into the Shiva Purana and the Ramayana, Rameshwaram is basically the ultimate symbol of devotion. To cleanse his profound sins after defeating the demon king Ravana, Lord Ram was told by the sages to establish a Shiva lingam right there on the beach. So, needing a divine lingam, Lord Ram sends the incredibly fast Hanuman all the way to Mount Kailash to grab one. But time is ticking. The auspicious hour for the ritual is quickly slipping away, and Hanuman still isn't back. So, in this incredibly beautiful act of pure devotion, Mother Sita just gathered up the beach sand and molded it into a lingam herself. That became known as the Ramalingam. When Hanuman finally returned with a rock lingam from Kailash, he was totally heartbroken to see they had started without him. But Lord Ram, seeing his pure dedication, installed Hanuman's lingam right next to Sita's and called it the Vishwalingam. And then Ram made this powerful decree. To this very day, anyone visiting Rameshwaram absolutely must worship Hanuman's Vishwalingam before Sita's Ramalingam, or the whole pilgrimage doesn't count. And that story brilliantly illustrates the blend of myth and just baffling science at Rameshwaram. The temple here is famous for its 22 sacred water wells, or kuns, which represent the 22 divine arrows in Lord Ram's quiver. But here is the scientific impossibility of it all. Rameshwaram is an island. It is completely surrounded by the salty, briny ocean. Yet when you draw water from these 22 wells, it's not just fresh, it is incredibly sweet and packed with medicinal properties. Geologists are literally still scratching their heads over how this completely pure, sweet water exists right in the middle of a salty sea. It's wild! All right, moving on to stop number 2, Jagannath Puri, incomplete idols and unbelievable science. After our bath in the south, we head east to Jagannath Puri in Odisha. Remember, this is the cosmic dining hall of Lord Vishnu, so fittingly, it has the largest temple kitchen in the world. But Jagannath Puri isn't just famous for its food. This is where history, myth, and architectural impossibilities totally collide. The origin story of the main deities here is so unique. The legend goes that King Indraduma was ordered by Lord Krishna in a dream to carve idols from this divine log found on the beach, but no human carpenter could even make a dent in the wood. Suddenly, Vishwakarma, the architect of the gods, shows up disguised as an old man. He says he'll carve them, but on one super strict condition. He locks himself in a room and nobody opens the door until he's done. Days pass, you hear carving sounds, and then absolute silence. The queen panics, thinking the old man starved to death, and forces the doors open. Instantly, the old man vanishes, and he leaves behind the wooden idols of Jagannath, Balabhadra, and Subhadra completely unfinished. No hands, no feet. And remarkably, it's those exact incomplete idols that are fiercely worshipped by millions today. But honestly, the idols are just the beginning here. The architecture of this 214-foot-tall temple absolutely defies modern engineering. Just listen to these mind-bending facts. First, the massive flag at the very top of the temple, it always blows in the exact opposite direction of the wind. Always. Second, because of some incredibly precise ancient geometric calculation, the main 214-foot dome casts absolutely zero shadow on the ground at any time of day, no matter where the sun is. And finally, that massive metal wheel at the top, the Neel chakra, it's an ancient optical illusion. No matter where you stand in the city, the wheel always looks like it's facing you directly. How did they build that? Next up on the cosmic itinerary, stop 3, Dwarka, the submerged golden city. From the east, we're traveling west to the resting place of Dwarka, which literally translates to the gateway to moksha. According to the texts, Lord Krishna had this magnificent golden city built right in the middle of the sea by Vishwakarma to escape the relentless attacks of King Jarasandha. Krishna ruled from there for 36 prosperous years. But because of a powerful curse from Gandhari, after the Mahabharata war, the entire city was swallowed by the ocean. Now, for thousands of years, everyone thought Dwarka was just a beautiful myth, a story. But then, in 1983, a marine archaeologist named Dr. S.R. Rao led an underwater excavation in the Arabian Sea. And what he found completely shocked the globe. Right there, lying at the bottom of the ocean, were massive stone walls, geometric stone blocks, copper coins, huge ancient ship anchors. The scale, the 15th century BC dating, the location, it was a perfect, indisputable match to the ancient descriptions of Krishna's submerged city. It's a real place. Now, while the original city rests beneath the waves, the legacy is very much alive on the shore. The surviving Dwarkadish temple we see today was actually built around 2,500 years ago by Lord Krishna's own great-grandson. It stands 157 feet tall, and it features this colossal 52-yard flag adorned with the sun and moon. I mean, this flag is so massive you can clearly see it from 10 kilometers away. And in this incredible, unbroken ancient tradition, brave priests actually climb that structure to change the flag 3 times every single day. And finally, stop number 4. Badri Kedar and its Himalayan mysteries. We leave the coasts behind and ascend into the freezing north. We're heading into the treacherous, literally breathtaking, Himalayan domains of Badrinath and Kedarnath. This is where Vishnu comes to meditate, and where Shiva resides in his most raw form. Actually, the story of how Badrinath became Vishnu's domain is kind of hilarious. Originally, Badrinath was the stunning mountain home of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati. Vishnu was looking for a quiet spot to meditate, saw this place, and decided he wanted it. But he couldn't just walk up and ask Shiva to leave, right? So he transforms himself into a freezing, crying little human baby and just lays in the snow. Parvati hears the cries, and her maternal instincts completely take over. Shiva warns her it's a trick, but she brings the baby inside anyway. Well, the moment they step out of the house, the baby, Vishnu, bolts the door from the inside and politely asks if he can stay and meditate. Shiva, probably just smiling at the sheer cleverness of it all, gracefully gives up his home and moves a bit away to Kedarnath. So, Vishnu gets his spot and begins his intense meditation. But man, the Himalayan weather is completely unforgiving. Pretty soon, severe blizzards start burying him in snow. Goddess Lakshmi sees her husband in danger and rushes to his side. To protect him, she literally transforms herself into a giant Badri tree, which is a type of berry tree, and shields him with her branches for entire eras. When Vishnu finally opened his eyes and saw what she sacrificed for him, he declared she'd be worshipped right alongside him there, and he named the sacred place Badrinath in honor of her protective Badri tree form. Meanwhile, Lord Shiva had relocated to Kedarnath. Fast forward a bit, and after the devastating Mahabharata War, the Pandava brothers come to the Himalayas desperately searching for Shiva. They need him to cleanse their immense sins from the war. But Shiva is still angry with them and really doesn't want to be found. So he disguises himself as a bull and hides in a herd. But Bhima, the strongest of the brothers, figures it out. As the bull tries to sink into the earth to escape, Bhima lunges and grabs its tail. The bull vanishes, but the massive hump of its back remains above ground. And today, that very hump is the sacred conical idol that is worshipped inside the Kedarnath Temple. Now here is where we get to the really crazy scientific part. How has this ancient temple at Kedarnath actually survived? The Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology made a staggering discovery. Get this. During the Little Ice Age between the 13th and 17th centuries, the entire Kedarnath Temple was completely swallowed and buried under a massive glacier for 400 years. And glaciers aren't just ice, they are literally crushing rivers of rock and debris. Any normal modern building would have been pulverized to dust, but Kedarnath survived completely intact. Why? Because our ancestors used this incredibly advanced interlocking stone architecture. They fit these massive rocks together without a single drop of modern cement, and it allowed the structure to withstand centuries of crushing ice. But its absolute greatest test came recently, during the terrifying floods of June 2013. The Chorabari Glacier burst. We're talking millions of gallons of water, gigantic boulders, and deadly mud hurtling directly down the mountain toward the temple at breakneck speed. It looked like total certain annihilation. But then, an absolute miracle happened. A colossal boulder was swept down by the floodwaters and stopped dead center right behind the temple. This rock, which is now revered as the Bhimshila, acted as a perfect shield. It literally parted the raging, deadly waters into two streams that flowed around the sides of the temple, leaving the ancient structure completely untouched while everything else around it was washed away. Unbelievable. Which brings us to our fifth and final section, moksha, the journey's true meaning. We've talked about impossible geography, gravity-defying architecture, and just straight-up miraculous survival. But you have to ask yourself, why do humans put themselves through this? Why risk the freezing temperatures, the deadly paths, the massive expense, just to visit these physical locations? The answer shifts us away from the external miracles and points us to the ultimate internal spiritual climax. Ancient texts, like the Garuda Purana, tell us that we aren't just physical bodies. We are souls trapped in an exhausting, relentless loop of birth and death. It's said that a soul has to wander through 8.4 million, or 84 lakh different life forms before finally attaining a human body. The ultimate goal of human life? To hit the exit button on that exhausting loop. That exit is called moksha. The excruciating physical and mental toll of bathing in Rameshwaram, dropping your ego in Jagannath, and gasping for breath on the icy climbs of Badrinath, it's not just a vacation. That agonizing effort is deliberately designed to act like a furnace. It burns away the accumulated karma of 1,000 past lives, purifying your soul for liberation. So I want to leave you with one final, profound thought to chew on. We pack our bags, we brave the elements, and we travel to the very ends of the earth, thinking we are going to the mountains to find God. But the truth? The mountains, the oceans, the rivers, they aren't calling us. We are calling ourselves. When you are fighting for breath on a frozen temple step, you don't magically find a glowing light in the sky. You find your most raw, pure, stripped-down self, the self that got completely lost in the noise of everyday life. The true Char Dham, the ultimate peace, love, and detachment, it already exists completely within you. This exhausting, beautiful, crazy journey, it simply helps you realize that the ultimate destination was inside you all along. Thank you so much for joining me on